Happy Chinese New Year! I hope this year brings you and your family health, wealth, and personal fulfillment. 新年快乐，恭喜发财. 2021 is the year of the ox, but as an investor, you should think of it as the year of the bull. After all, a bull market means that the economy is going up. Welcome to Investors Medley Session 4. My name is Coco Tan. I'm a realtor with Keller Williams Realty in the San Francisco Bay Area. I know some of you are joining us for the first time after receiving my postcard in the mail. I'm so glad you all are here. Do me a favor, scan this QR code for my YouTube, this one for my WeChat, and this one for my WhatsApp. It's the best way to stay up to date on my latest listings, informational videos, and upcoming seminars. Today, our seminar is about what you can do with your investment properties. Many people are scared of buying an investment property in the current climate. But I say, don't worry. There is always a housing shortage, and not all rentals are equally affected by the pandemic. According to FortuneBuilder.com, an investor's education company, there are two main categories of rentals. A rental period of over 1 month is generally considered a long-term rental. Anything less than 1 month is usually considered as a short-term rental. There are advantages and disadvantages for both. The advantage of a long-term rental include a steady stream of income, ease of management, and being able to build a relationship with your tenant. If you don't have much time or energy, a long-term rental may be better. The advantages of a short-term rental include higher income potential, less wear and tear, and the possibility of staying it yourself. And there are many ways to help you use less time and less effort by using technology or hiring a property manager. That brings us to our speakers. They have years of personal experience running rental properties, both achieving the title of Superhost on Airbnb. So Alison Ding is a property manager who works with both short-term and long-term rentals. Alison will talk about the benefits and drawbacks of long-term versus short-term rentals. She will also describe what types of property are ideal for each opportunity. Cindy Lin is an engineering manager at a tech company who has experience of self-managing her investment property on Airbnb and hiring a short-term rental property manager. Cindy will talk about being a home host versus hiring a professional. She will show you how to use technology to efficiently operate a short-term rental on your own. Her hands-off method allows her to manage while only spending 1 or 2 hours a week. If her time-saving techniques work for her, they could work for you as well. With so many years experience between them and so many stories they could tell, this is the perfect chance for you to pick their brains about anything property management related. When you have a question, just type it into the chat. Our co-host will collect the questions for the Q&A. So Alison, thank you for joining us today. Please tell us about what you do and what recommendations you have for our audience from a professional property manager's point of view.
Sure. I wonder, Coco, the slide that I sent it to you, would you please bring that up?
Yes. Let's bring up the slides from Alison.
Okay. You can put on play mode. Okay. The company I have is called HostArt. We're a property management company specializing in both short-term and long-term rental. The definition of short-term rental, it means rental that are less than 29 days. Long-term rental is rental longer than 29 days. It's more defined by most of the city rules and regulations around Bay Area. Next page, please. Next page, please. Hello? Would you click for next page, Coco?
Yes. So is Mila actually playing the slides? Mila, can you help?
Yeah. Yeah. Next page, please. Yes. So, so on the map, you can see we were managing actually about 60 Airbnbs. That was before the pandemic. Of course, business affected by the pandemic. But on the pins, you can see where our properties are located. Pretty much all around the whole Bay Area. Each Bay Area city, you will find a property that we manage. Those are the short-term rental that we manage. Next page, please. Okay. I will start with short-term rentals because for long-term, people usually have an idea. You want to buy either a very nice house in a super good school district, and then you rent it to a family or who would like to go to that school district or close to work. There are specifications that for long-term rentals. But for short-term rentals, there are a few things I would like to cover. To let you know if your next investment is good for short-term rental or long-term rental. First, rate of return. In general speaking, the rate of return of short-term rental is better than long-term rental. And also, short-term rental gives you a better chance for repair and maintenance because short-term rental are facing the customers who are checking in and staying in your property in the average length of 2 to 5 business days. So every 2 to 5 business days, there's a turnover. And then every group of guests who checking in your property, they will use the property and they will let you know what is going on because they don't want to be held accountable for any repair or damage that happens on that property. For example, a person will check in and tell us, hey, we checked in tonight, but we found the garbage disposal stopped working in the kitchen under the sink. And then, or someone will say, oh, we noticed the toilet has been running for non-stopping. And then, or someone will say, oh, the shower doors or the shower frame is not working correctly. By people telling you that there are things that need to be repaired or maintenance, that means you have a better idea of the condition of your property, and that prevents of long-term damage from happening. Because for our long-term property, we have experience of guests or tenants who had a running water line from the fridge, but they don't bother to tell the landlord nor the property manager. They basically just dump the water from the fridge every day. And after they left the building, they left the property, they did not tell the owner nor the property manager. So after like 2 weeks, when we were showing the property, we found the water is already intruded in the second floor, and there are already, damage happened. And so we had to call the water restoration company. We had to call a contractor to tear down the flooring as well as the ceiling and sheetrock of the second floor. That is the thing you don't want to happen on your property. So on short-term rental, you will find the problem right away, and then you can fix that problem right away, which is definitely a good thing for your property. You can upkeep your property. And then the third thing good about short-term rental is tenant relation. I'm sure everyone knows the state of California protect tenants more than landlords. There's a thing called the tenant rights. And for tenants who stay in your property more than 30 days, then they have tenants rights. If they're unhappy about your property, if they have financial difficulties, or just simply they want to squat your unit. They want to squat your unit. You know, they will be able to do so, and then they will cost at least 3 to 6 months to evict them. But for short-term rental guests, we call, short-term rental tenants, we call them guests. For long-term, we call them tenants. For short-term rental guests, their intention to use those properties are short-term. For example, they're visiting families, they're attending meetings, conferences, they're attending competitions, they're attending, different kinds of things. They're attending weddings, they're attending funerals, or they simply just want to get away from their neighborhood and go to a different part of Bay Area. So the intention of their stay is short term. So they are not intended to squat your unit or making money out of your unit. So that's the first part. And then the second part is they're short-term renters. So if they find there's a leakage, they will say, hey, would you please find someone to repair this? We will either send our handyman to repair that, or the guest sometimes will just simply say, we're probably not going to use that bedroom. We're not going to use the kitchen disposal because we're only here for 3 days. We're going to take, deliveries every day, or we're going to dine out every day. So we're not going to use your kitchen, but just be aware.
I hate chinks.
Yeah. So, so the good part is, so the intention of the guest is short term. So usually they're not that picky as some long-term tenants, and they're not, and with them, they're not staying in the property for more than 30 days, so they don't have tenant rights. That gives you definitely a buffer land for tenant relation. And for the worst thing, for example, they're not happy about your place, they're leaving. Then they're leaving. The only loss for the property owner probably is just that day or the next day, and that's about it. There's nothing else, nothing worse than that could happen. And then the next term is timing. That thing falls not only on investment properties, but also happens on primary residences. For example, you are, let's say, I have a perfect example. One of my clients want to sell her property in Fremont, and she doesn't know when's a good time, and that was last year. And then when the pandemic started, she immediately stopped her Airbnb and called for a staging company. Within 2 days, her house is ready for sale. And then her house was actually one of the top selling house in her neighborhood, just because the timing is not a problem for short-term rental. But if you're doing long-term rental, you don't know when you will be able to have the tenant going to moving out, or when it's a good time to put on market. You lose that maneuver, because long-term rental is a commitment. You have to follow the lease, but short-term rental, it doesn't. It gives you that flexibility. And also there's also a good example for houses that needs to be rebuilt or needs to be redone. For example, there's a house in Palo Alto, and then it's an older house, and then they hired us doing Airbnb for them. They don't know how long it's going to take them to take the owners to go through the permitting process in the city of Palo Alto. So they were just running Airbnb for about 11 months or so. And then they got the permit. And then right after that, they took another 2 weeks or so to find the right contractor. And then they stopped their Airbnb, and boom, they're ready to start their ready to start their rebuild or demolition process. Without the help of short-term rental, they're either going to have their property sitting there paying, property tax, insurance, everything, all the overhead, or they're going to, have to lease it long term and then wait for the tenant finish their lease and negotiating with the tenant to move out. That's another, time is money. So they're wasting their time, basically they're wasting their money. And then the last thing about short-term rental is price, which is actually part of the rate of return. If your house have some problem or have some, I would say, aspect that preventing you from renting it long term, then short-term is the way to go. So next slide, please. I will go over about short-term rental in details. Next slide, please. Okay. The rate of return, for example, for in Bay Area, people usually know houses in good school district rents better with higher return, but that's not necessarily for short-term rental. What people are looking for short-term rental, they're actually looking for convenience. For example, traffic is good, or house with characters. Someone prefer like newer house and someone prefer older house. They just admire the old architectural details of the house. They will enjoy that. But for long-term rentals, people usually just always go with newer houses. And then house with art, that's a perfect example for this. There's a listing that we manage in Berkeley, and then that house have 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom. That's original of the house. However, the owner added a unpermitted basement bedroom and an unpermitted basement bathroom there. So renting that unit, if the owner claims that a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, and have that property rented as 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, the owner is facing, a potential charge or anything that against him because those 2 space are not permitted and they're not on record. But however, we do it on Airbnb. Short-term renters, they have no time and they have no interest and they have no intention to go to the city to ask if this house is 2 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, or is a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom with unpermitted area. And also their houses, for example, we manage on the peninsula, has a add-on space. That space is permitted, but for that space, you need to go. In order to go to that space, you need to go through another bedroom in order to go to that space. So legally, you cannot claim that as a bedroom because each bedroom is supposed to have a separate entrance. However, for Airbnb, we can easily claim that it's a bedroom because we Airbnb or we short-term rental the whole house as a whole, and then the group who will rent the property will rent the whole space as a whole. Then whoever going through the bedroom, they're either a family or they're a group of people that feel comfortable to go that. So that's why for houses with odd design or odd architectural details, short-term rental is definitely the way to go because the short-term guest, they do not have the interest or intention to dig the basic of the house. A second thing is the maintenance. Like I said, discover and the solution in a timely manner. If anything happens, the guest will report it to us as property managers, and we will tell them, we will send people to solve that problem right away. So to keep the house in good condition. And also, I want to say there's less usage of the house for short-term rentals in general than long-term rentals. Because for long-term rentals, mostly it's a family. They're gonna use the kitchen like nonstop. They're gonna use the kitchen for breakfast, and then sometimes if people work at home, they're gonna use it for lunch, and definitely for dinner, they're gonna use your kitchen. They're gonna use the disposal of the dishwasher. They're gonna use the stove. They're gonna use the cooktop. They're gonna use everything. So there's definitely more wear and tear for the kitchen stuff. But however, for Airbnb, when you travel to a different city or a different, place, people definitely tend to eat out more, trying more new restaurants. They're not going to stay in a short-term rental and cook 3 meals a day. So that's definitely less usage of kitchen and bedroom, of course, as well, because they're, people use short-term rental for purpose. They're not going to stay inside the house for all day. The only thing I would say probably more usage is the bathroom, especially the shower, because if we have 6 guests, then 6 of them, each of them, are gonna use the shower to take a shower, but that's pretty much it. So in general, it's much less usage of the house than long-term rental. And then for tenant relation, that's the detail. There's a lot of city of the Bay Area pass just cause eviction, so it's super hard to evict long-term tenants. So the short-term rental guests, they don't have tenant rights, so you can't kick them out. So it's it's a perfectly way to avoid just cause eviction, and then avoid tenant rights. And also, it's a flexibility of your house. For example, if you want to use your house for your friends or your family, and then maybe you just want to use this house for 2 months for 2 months of the year in the summer, and then you can use it, and then you can short-term rental for the rest of the time. Or also, I have a lot of international property owners who are only in the United States, for example, 2 or 3 months a year. And then for the rest of they definitely want to use their property when they're here. And then for the rest of the time, they will Airbnb it. And so they can, they have a place to stay, a place to call home when they're here. And then this home will generate plenty of profit for them while they're away. Next page, please. Okay. So what kind of property is suitable for short-term rental? There's 3 things, location, floor plan, permit. So location is important, but also, like I said, compared to long-term rental, short-term rental gives you more opportunities in different area. For example, one of our best performing Airbnb rental or short-term rental is actually in the city of Oakland, and in a very bad neighborhood of Oakland. So for, most of the people will try to avoid that area. But the owner bought that property very cheap, and the Airbnb generates a lot of money because people are using that property for getting aways, and then travel nurses or construction contractors, or simply a party. But, I know party is a topic people want to avoid on short-term rentals. That is true. But for this house, because it's in the worst neighborhood in Oakland, and then all the neighbors is either, I don't know, drug dealers or cons, or just a crazy people. So they don't care about what's going on in that house. So dramatically, that house generates tons of income compared to regular long-term rental. And also areas like Hayward, South San Francisco, San Bruno, those cities, those typical blue-collar city. Buying investment properties in those kind of cities is kind of a challenge because it's hard to find, I would say, qualified or very decent long-term tenants. But for short-term rentals, people love those areas because they're convenient, either close to San Francisco or close to the airport, or close to, a convention center, or close to the place they want to go. So definitely those cities brings you more income than regular long-term rentals. And then the convenience that means whenever you want to use your, whenever the convenience of the location is actually the key. So it's close to highway, close to convention center, close to university, that usually will bring in a lot of short-term rental guests. And floor plan. In general, size of the house does not matter. I know nowadays people tend to have bigger houses, like huge backyard, big bedrooms, extra den or room as an office, because everyone needs a room to do their Zoom meeting. I understand. However, for short-term rental, it does not matter that much. As far as it fits a bed and possibly a desk, that is the place to go. The guests will not complain. They don't need the extra space. And then one key point for floor plan regarding short-term rental is parking. We definitely need enough parking, and for example, at least to accommodate 2 to 4 cars, because sometimes guests arrive in different groups, and the parking will arise problem for the neighborhood if you don't have enough parking, or if your guest is parking, on someone else's parking spot or in someone else's garage or driveway. That will arise a lot of problem. So parking is one of the key points. And then permit, of course. Always ask your HOA if there's any, and then always ask the city if you can do short-term rental, because I know a lot of cities have specific regulations on short-term rentals. Next page, please. Okay. How do we start a short-term rental as a property manager? First, of course, we set up the house. We're bringing in a modern look furniture, because most of the short-term rental users are the younger generation. And also we set them up. For example, we decorate the house. We're bringing in fresh and beautiful linens to make the house look nice and cozy. And also we're bringing in utensils or other necessities in order for guests to stay comfortably. That's how you set up your house. And then another very important thing is customer communication, basically how you communicate with your guest. As a property manager and the property management company, we have a dedicated customer service person sitting behind a computer answering all the questions via Airbnb or via VRBO or via text and phone call. And also we have international team to cover the night shift, just in case anything happens. They have someone to talk to, and they always have an answer. If they don't have the solution, not necessarily they will have the solution of the problem. For example, there's a power outage at, let's say, 10 p.m. They cannot use they cannot watch TV. They cannot use the internet. Well, probably we cannot solve that because that's an outage. But always a comfort from, customer service will give the guest a peace of mind and make them feel better. And then the next day, we'll just simply say, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's an area outage," and then we'll just tell them, maybe you can use your phone, or maybe there's another area is open, or we can tell them the cafeteria in 3 miles away is open. If you have something emergency, probably can use their internet, something to comfort the guest, and then they will feel good. They will just, all the things will just go away next day. And then the last thing is repairs. We have dedicated handyman who is available 24/7 basically, and to fix things. Small things like kitchen disposal, big things like shower clog, that will be taken care of on a timely manner. Okay, next page, please. Okay, setting up. This slide is a typical setup that we used before. This is a listing that we inherit from an owner, and then the owner is tired of managing. The owner gets his and her own family life. And then they're saying, oh, they don't see much of income generating from their property, so they find us. So our interior designer did a small job, and even from different angle of taking photos. If you can see the first part, it's still the same living room, but the way the interior designer taking photos is different. So it's displayed nicely to the future guests, as well as the bedroom. Simply we just hang arts, and then adding area rugs or things like that. Having an interior designer in our team will beautify your home, your listing, and make it more attractive. And same thing for the next one. Our interior designer will find, nice and inexpensive furnitures to beautify the property, and which are very important for short-term rental because people don't see your property. They only see the photos of your property when they're about to make the reservation. So photo is very important. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. Yeah. Oh, tax advantage. Yeah, that's a very interesting topic because for long-term rentals, there isn't much of I'll say tax credits or tax deductible that you can claim. Because I manage a lot of long-term rentals too. It's a passive income. However, short-term rental is not a passive income. It's actually an active management. Even though my client chose us as property manager to help them managing their properties, they can still claim a lot of things that are related to short-term rental. For example, they can claim some mileage. They can claim some cleaning fees. They can claim a lot of usage of paper towel, shampoo, conditioner, cleaning products like bleach or anything. They will be able to claim a lot of things onto their Airbnb because that's a passive management. That's a passive income. Oh, I'm sorry, that's an active income. That's not a passive income. And also, as I know, there are also other people are running Airbnb as a business. So a lot of travel expenses or hotel expenses can be tax deductible from that because that's part of the business. So for this part, it's based on our experience. But I do suggest you to talk to your tax accountant for details because I'm pretty sure there's more than what I say that you can actually be benefit from your tax. Next slide. Okay. So for us, HostArt, we're definitely professionals for this business. We've been in business for almost 5 years, and we're the biggest Asian short-term rental property management company in the Bay Area. And also we're a one-stop shop. You can just toss your key, toss us your key, leave us with either a clean property or a dirty property, it doesn't matter. We will turn that property into short-term rental ready as soon as possible. And then also we have, accounting system. So basically every month you can log into your account and then you will have detailed information, how many reservations you had, how many maintenance you've ever had, and what's the cost, how much money you made. And then at the end of the year, you will receive a 1099 from us. And then teamwork. We're definitely a team and a big team. So we have international team, like I mentioned before, to cover the night shift. And also we have 5 co-working cleaning companies who will be able to cover each other. So every time our property are cleaned on time, and if anything happened in one of the cleaning team on one property, the other team will be able to cover that spot in order to host the guest on time. And then, reputation. Yeah, we're biggest in the Bay Area for Chinese owners, for Asian owners, and we're a super host for multiple listings. Being a super host, we have definitely a lot of experience of how to be super host. But being a super host, it depends on 2 things. First, how you host your guests, but more importantly, it depends on your property. So it's a choice for the guest. It's a choice of the owner. If they want to invest more and have a high-end property, that is definitely the way to go and become super host. But also, like I mentioned before, we have a listing in Oakland, and believe it or not, that property is not a super host, but definitely generates a lot of profit. So either way could go. Next slide, please. Okay, so here's my my number and my WeChat number and my company email. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me, and I'm always here to help you. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Alison. So it seems like the advantages of short-term outweigh the disadvantages. Now,
Well, not really. I'll add one more sentence. I'll add what kind of property, property is definitely go for a long term rather than short term. I'll point it out. It is usually the property further away from the center of the Bay Area and within good school district. So namely, I would say, for example, Palo Alto, Saratoga, Cupertino, those areas have super good schools. So the tenants who intended to rent usually would like to pay for the overhead of having a good school district and having a nice neighborhood. So those areas, long-term rental tend to, I would say, probably good or equally good as short-term rental. But also for some, like I said, a place like cities like Oakland or Hayward, then short-term rental definitely is the way to go.
sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
So now we will switch to Cindy. So since Cindy is a hands-on Airbnb superhost, so Cindy, can you please tell us, if I want to start an Airbnb, should I manage it myself or hire a property manager? What are my options?
Hi, everybody. I'm Cindy. I have several properties, and I put some of them on long-term rental, some of them are short-term rental. And for short-term rental properties, I have both experience of self-managing the property myself or like hiring a professional host like Alison. To run the business for me. So now I'm going to talk about the pros and cons between like self-managing your properties for short-term rental versus like hiring a professional host. So first of all, I want to say that there is no single answer for everybody, right? It's always case by case. It's different answer for different person, and also even for the same person's like your choice, your better choice could be different. So for self-management, what are the benefits? I think there are 4 benefits, which is ROI, flexibility, transparency, and the learnings. For ROI means like if you hire a PM, like a property manager, a professional host, usually the commission fee, you need to pay her the commission fee of like 15 to 25%. And if you're in some area like Hawaii, that's even high, it could be like 50 to 60% crazily. So if you self-manage yourself, you save the commission fee. Second benefit is the flexibility. You have more control on your house, right? For example, last year in March, when I realized like the pandemic started and there was almost no short-term rental guests coming, I immediately gave my house to one of my friends, and for like 4 months, and get back it to short-term rental market in August. And of course, during the 4 months, like there is no commission fee I need to pay to my PMs. Third benefit is the transparency, because sometimes like I don't think every single relationship between host and the property manager is a happy experience, right? Sometimes they could fight, and you need the extra efforts to manage your property manager, which is a headache. And the last thing is, of course, fun and learnings. By doing this, you can learn the whole stories about the short-term rental market, and sometimes the learnings will benefit you from other aspects. Okay, that's the benefit of self-managing. What's the benefit of if you're hiring a professional host or a PM for yourself? There are still like 4 benefits. That is ROI, time, efforts, and professional. Why I list the ROI the same benefits? Because sometimes, like although like you need to pay 15 to 25% commission fee to your PMs, but it's possible that for the same house, if you handle it to your PMs, your PM can like have more than 15 or 25% higher gross incomings from Airbnb, so that whatever you get in your pocket after the commission fee could be even higher than if you self-manage it. Second is, of course, the time. Of course, the time. Like you can be, as what Alison said, you can be totally laid back and hands off, and then just count the incomings every month, and you barely do anything. Third thing is efforts, because if you self-manage it, what you need to spend is not only the time, but sometimes something else like mental healthness, right? If your guest is rude, you don't need to talk to the rude guest yourself. And sometimes it is safety, because the extreme case I ever heard is like a PM was beaten down to the ground by the rude guest. So you don't need to experience all these things. And the last one is, of course, as what Alison said, is professional, because they could have better price setting for you. They have more professional cleaning teams, and they know how to increase your listings rankings and gain the Superhost test titles. So yeah, so that's what I want to share about the pros and cons of the 2 methods.
Yeah, thank you, Cindy. I think you also have a lot of good technology platform to help you self-manage as well. That's how you save your time when you self-manage. You don't have to spend all your time managing your Airbnb, but you actually have time to work your full-time job as well as manage your multiple properties.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think if you want to self-manage your property, there are some high techniques you can use to save your time. For example, before the pandemic, I only spend like 1 or 2 hours per week to manage each of my properties. Some techniques to share. First, of course, like it's also depend on your properties, right? It requires your property is not too far away from your primary residence. It requires your property is actually have a good house conditions, right? If you satisfy this, and of course, it also requires yourself know how to play the game. So if you satisfy the 3 requirements, then you can try some high techniques, including like you can install like the smart lock, so that you can let your guests to self-check in themselves. You can install the cameras, so that you can know if anything abnormal happened outside your house. That's important, right? Third is you can install some smart equipment like the Nest, so you can tracking your utility bills and also help your guests to set up the temperature if needed, right? And you can use some third-party cleaning website like Turnover B&B, and this website can connect your Airbnb calendar with cleaners and automatically send the cleaners to your house according to your short-term rental calendars. Yeah, and also you can also use handyman.com to get a handyman. Handy.com to get a handyman to do the maintenance. Yeah,
that's great. So thank you, Cindy. So now our audience has a better idea of what.
Coco.
Yeah.
Hi, Coco.
Yes,
this is Alison. There's one thing I would like to add, to add after Cindy's input.
Yes, please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hiring a property manager versus self-managing. So yes, I am a property manager in the Bay Area, and I manage properties for my client or the property owners. And also, of course, I self-managing my properties as well, because I'm a homeowner in the Bay Area as well. But also, I hire property managers as well for my more than 10 rental properties across the nation. So when thinking about self-managing or hire a property manager, ask yourself, do you want to be an investor, or basically you want to find a second job? So if you want to find a second job, then you should go for self-managing. But if you want to be an investor, which is my goal, that's why I invest in the Bay Area. I invest in 4 other states across the nation, in like Colorado, Arizona, North Carolina, all those states, Pennsylvania, and Utah, all those states. If you want to be an investor, then do consider hire a property manager. That's what I do for my properties, without my reach. And I think that's more time efficient, and also it's save you hassles as well. So that's my input of self-managing or hiring a property manager. So ask yourself if you want to get a second job, or you want to be a true real estate investor.
That's a great point. Thank you, Alison.
Mm-hmm.
So so now our audience actually have a better idea of what it would take to be their own manager, right? So now it is time for the Q&A. We do have a lot of questions that we have gathered from Zoom, as well as from streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, WeChat, and Yizhibo. So, but before we do that, a very quick word about what's going to happen next week. Investors Medley continues with a seminar about the current eviction laws. If you are an investment property owner with a long-term tenant, it is important to be knowledgeable about evictions in order to protect yourself. As you may know, there is a temporary halt on evictions through June of this year because of COVID-19. And in the city of San Jose, for example, tenants only need to pay 25% of their rent in order to not be evicted. But it's not a simple topic. So I have invited a real estate attorney to discuss the current law and what it means for tenants and for landlords. So join us next week on March 2nd for Prone to Protection, part of our Investors Medley series. So let's start the Q&A. The first question I had is, does Airbnb rental income considered as rental income by lenders if you are applying for a mortgage refinance? I actually quickly texted the lenders and I got an answer saying, yes, the Airbnb rental income can be considered as rental income if you can prove for 2-year history. So that's actually a good one. From Z, short-term rental is a great concept. However, it is also most impacted when you have a pandemic like COVID-19. How does your firm manage crisis like COVID for short-term rentals? What about furnishing, and what would you recommend for the owner to supply? I think that's the question could be for both Cindy and also Alison. How's your business being impacted? And then for Alison, how does your firm manage crisis like this?
Okay, I will start. This is Alison. I will start. Yes, of course, the pandemic hits the business of short-term rental. But believe it or not, a lot of our listings have the flexibility. Some of the listings turn to long-term rental right after the pandemic, and they're all out. And then also a lot of short-term rental who survive in this market actually get a very good long-term, get a very, I would say, mid-term guests from short-term rental platform like Airbnb or VRBO. Why? Think about the wildfire that hits California. A lot of people's house got burned down. So they need to find, or the insurance company will find houses are furnished, move-in ready for those. So a lot of listings that I manage, because we have long-term relationship with insurance companies. So they will place those people whose house got burned down, whose house got affected, whose house is just collapsed by a tree or something. They will place their client into our Airbnb right away. And believe it or not, one of the, and then the rate is usually much higher than long-term rental, because first, this is short-term rental, and second, it's a full furnished. So believe it or not, a lot of them get taken midterm renters who usually rent for 3 to 6 months, and the longest one has been staying with us for more than a year. Their house in Santa Cruz got burned down, and then they moved to one of Airbnb that I manage in South Bay, and they live there happily. And then the insurance companies keep paying them and in a very good premium. So also for pandemic, there are people like traveling nurses or other people who are looking to move out from their apartments or from their condos. They want to find a setup and get settled down right away. And meanwhile, they can maybe try to buy a house or try to buy a house or try to find other places. So they usually rent Airbnb for more than 1 month or 2 months or 3 months. And also there are a lot of contractors. As you know, the real estate market is super hot right now. So a lot of contractors from other states actually flock to California. And guess what? Where do they live? Do you think contractors, their GC will rent a super luxury hotel for them? Of course, no. They will rent an Airbnb for 3 to 6 months to put their crews in there so the crews can shower, get ready, prepare their breakfast, and then go to the job site. So a lot of our Airbnbs actually survive the pandemic nicely, and also short amount of them turn to long-term rental. That's what happened in our company portfolio.
How about Cindy? Did you get affected by pandemic?
Yes, I affected by pandemic. For example, last year, as I just mentioned, I have to turn my short-term rental into the long-term rental for 4 months last year. And then started last summer, that is August, it actually rebounds back. So I'm glad to share some of my own private data. So based on my own property, I think what I own, the gross income in Airbnb is like roughly 10% down from the same months like last year. So I earn lower, but I feel the gap is not huge. If you can exist, I think the sunshine is in front of you.
That's great. Just as long as you're in the market, probably better days will come, huh?
Yeah, it's a rebound back.
Yeah, definitely, Cindy. If you survive the market, you know your the income coming back is definitely gonna heal what you have lost in the pandemic few months.
Yeah. So Alison, what do you recommend owner to supply for furnishing short-term rental?
Well, in my company, we have an interior designer. So we got furnitures from online like Wayfair, Amazon, and also we use local stores like Living Space. That's the kind of furniture that we use. And also price is it's not the first thing. Look is the first thing that kicks the guest heart. So you definitely want to have someone who have a taste and who is professional to prepare for the furnitures and decos of your short-term rental.
So it sounds like staging is not only important in selling the real estate, but also important in renting your real estate as well.
Of course, and it's more than staging, because for staging, I own a staging company myself as well. So picking furnitures for staging and picking furniture for short-term rentals are different. For example, for staging, you definitely want those lightweight, lightweight furnitures. But for Airbnb, for certain furnitures, for example, sofa and your coffee table and your bed, you definitely want a beautiful, modern, but also sturdy furnitures for that. Yeah,
that's
because
right.
you don't
Otherwise,
know.
you have to keep changing them.
Exactly, because you don't know how big your guests are. They could be a 1 year old crawling on your sofa, but it could be a 300 pounds big guy, contractor, big guy, after a full day of work and slamming down on your couch. You want to make sure that couch doesn't fall apart.
Okay, another question is for you is, does your company work only in the Bay Area or other states too, such as Washington, Florida, or Texas?
Well, we did manage out of state properties. However, that requires a pre-set up relationship with local handyman or local cleaning team. etc. In order to run that business smoothly. So if you don't have that connection with local people, then unfortunately we cannot manage that. But if you do, we're happy to take it over and use our technology to enhance the profit of your short-term rental.
Got it. Next question is, in the Bay Area, how many days will be booked in average per month? I guess that's a question for both Alison as well as Cindy.
Okay, Cindy, you can go first.
Sorry, what's the question?
How many days generally is being booked in average per month?
Oh, so actually pretty high, like 95%.
95%, that's nice, yeah, okay.
Okay, for me, I would say something between 70 to 100%, because as a property manager, we share the same interest as the owner, which is high profit. The high profit also means not high usage of your house. So I would say a healthy occupancy rate is somewhere between 80 to 90%. Why? Because it depends on how you do the pricing. If, for example, there's 30 days in a month, if you price your property for $200 a night, then maximum for not 30 nights, you can get $6,000. That's it. However, with the technology of smart pricing, dynamic pricing, for some day you can sell it for $500, and for some day you can sell it for $100 or something. Then you want to make the profit out of it, not having guests stay in your house every day, because you're gonna add your expense of utilities, add your expenses of wear and tear. So that's, for my scope, as bring more profit. The occupancy rate is not the key point.
Got it. And how do you charge management fee for Airbnb, Alison?
I charge 18%.
18%, okay. What is the fee for long-term rental?
6%.
How much?
6%.
Oh, 6%, I got it, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
and my out-of-state property management charged me 25% on short-term rental and 8% on my long-term rental. That's for the other states. Just a heads up for people who, just in case, wondering how much is out of California.
I have one point. I'm currently hiring a PM, and she charged me 25%. And also I have another PM for my long-term rental, and he charged me 8%. That's the 2 data points inside California.
I think that sounds like the right range, yeah, 6 to 8 or up to 10% sometimes, yeah. So next question, do I need license to help relatives or friends manage their property? I don't think you need license to manage any properties, right? You don't need
license to manage properties, but you do need license to see if your property is available to do short-term rental.
You need a license to see whether your property is available for short-term rental?
Yeah, especially in the city of San Francisco, in the city of, say, Foster City, in the city of Berkeley, in the city of Santa Clara, in the city of Mountain View. There are a lot of cities that I can name. That you
need the license for the home, right? You need a
you need to get a
license.
Yeah, you need to talk to the city planning department to get a business permit to run short-term rental on your property.
Got it, but not like license, not like real estate license. You don't need a real estate license to manage.
You don't need, and you can get a friend and list her as a co-host on Airbnb.
Oh, okay, that's a good point. Yeah. So for long-term rentals, the question is, how much does it cost to evict someone? So let's save that question for next week about eviction, next Tuesday. What kind of insurance is needed for short-term rentals?
Okay, this is Alison. I'll start over. Yes, there's a designated short-term rental insurance program for this kind of rentals. I believe farmers did that, because I know my short-term rentals are under farmers insurance. And also there is a brokerage called Outlet or Mercury. They did short-term rental programs as well. So, anyone interested can contact agents from those two insurance companies.
So Ally and what company again?
Farmers.
Farmers. Okay, that's just, so basically general, the homeowner insurance company can actually provide short-term rental insurance, right?
Yeah, that's a designated program for short-term rental houses.
Okay, that's for insurance for the house, or is it insurance for the business?
No, it's insurance for the house. I'm talking about properties, insurance for the house. So the house owner, property owners need to contact those insurance company and tell them, you know, this house is no longer a primary or no longer a rental insurance. It will be a short-term rental insurance. There will be a little jump, but not too much.
Got it. Yeah. What are the relevant non-discrimination laws, and how do you follow them?
Can you be more specific on this question?
I wait for them to type more. So whoever asked that question just can type more there. There's a question for Alison. Do you manage Airbnb for Tahoe area?
I am going to.
That's good. For short-term rentals, do owners provide furniture, or your company provide furniture?
Owner provide furniture.
You can help them design. That's what it is, right?
Yes, our interior designer will pick the furnitures.
Okay. And there are people who ask for Alison and also Cindy's contact information. I think you can contact me first, and then I will share them with you. And then the question, what are the cleaning fee for single family home? Usually.
Okay, Cindy, you can go first, because I know you're listening, so you can go first.
Usually, like for 3B that's 125 and ish around, and if 4B that is 150. You can check the price on turnoverbnb.com.
Cindy have all kinds of websites for you to use for self-management.
Yeah, and for me as a property manager, we provide a solution, a whole package solution. So our cleaning fee is a little bit higher, but the high point is actually including all the shampoo, conditioner, and hand soap, dish soap, dishwasher detergent, toilet paper, paper towel, sheets, linens, pillowcases, towels, bath towels, everything. So for us, I would say a 3-bedroom usually, and also we have garbage bin pushing out program as well. So our cleaning fee for a 3-bedroom is somewhere 150 to 160, and then for a 4-bedroom, it's usually 180 to 190.
Okay. Alison, is property in Hercules area good for short-term or long-term rentals? How do you usually get tenants for those areas? Do you think those rental rates have decreased in the area?
For Hercules? The furthest to the East Bay I know have pretty good guests coming is Richmond and Richmond area. To Hercules, I'm not sure. But also, I think further north, you know, there's a place called Discovery Bay. There's tons of short-term rentals because they have very nice views there.
Okay. How do you report tenant for breaking lease to the credit agencies? Do you report payments on time or late payments to credit agency? Which third-party service do you use for reporting credit agency?
Then that's my business. If you figure that out all by yourself, welcome to join my business.
Got it. Okay. And do you cover any repair costs as part of the property management, or owner pays for the repair costs?
Okay. For short-term rent, for long-term rental, that should be deducted from the deposit. For short-term rental, there's a cool thing in Airbnb called host guarantee. So if the guest break something, for example, they break your coffee table, they break your TV, what we do is, of course, we'll charge the owner immediately. We will buy a brand new TV, a brand new coffee table in the house right away in order to host the next group of guests. That's a must. And also we will charge owner for that. However, next step we're going to do is we're going to claim those loss through Airbnb. It's called a resolution center, and it's either the guest or Airbnb will pay the cost. what we usually do is we take photos of the broken item, and also we take photos of the receipt that we replaced, and Airbnb will take care of it.
Okay. And for long-term rentals, is it a good idea to allow pets?
Yes, I will say yes. I know
Just
it's
get more
hard.
pet
People
deposits.
people always have concerns of dog gonna scratch the floorings, and then cats gonna scratch the baseboard and everything. But however, consider the amount of family who are with pet. I'll tell you, most of the family in the Bay Area are with pet. And also there's a group of pet that you cannot deny. They call it emotional support animal. You can't deny a emotional support animal. Then there's a high chance you can't deny a pet. Then why don't you just open to a pet family?
Got it. Makes sense. Yeah. Trying to look through the questions. Is Livermore a good area for short-term rental?
Livermore. Well, the Livermore area, is known for very nice houses, very large properties. So the problem for Livermore is you're probably going to face more parties, in your short-term rentals. Yeah, that's the problem.
So going back to the question,
there's a problem.
Okay, sorry. Going back to the question people ask about reporting late payments, credit agency. Cindy, what do you do if you have people who are breaking leases or not paying on time?
I'm lucky, so I never experienced it.
That's very lucky of you. I think that's a majority of the questions. I hope I caught all. So anybody who wants to have Alison's or Cindy's contact information, you can contact me and it will connect you with them. I have a bunch of people asking for that. So thank you so much, Alison and Cindy. This has been a very informative discussion. I hope everyone also now has a better understanding of long-term versus short-term rentals, and also what it will take you to run a successful Airbnb. The seminar now is over. If you still have questions for us or want to stay and chat, please feel free to do so. Otherwise, please say thank you to Alison and Cindy, and I will see you next week for Prone to Protection, Evictions During COVID-19, part of our Investors Medley series. My name is Coco Tan. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Alison.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alison.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was my pleasure sharing my experience with everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you.